My name is Karin Zoe Lee. You're listening to NIGHTRIDE FM. Good morning from Seattle. It's 10 a.m. over here. Hoping to reach you folks in the UK and Europe, 6, 7 p.m. dinner time. Because I know we don't get to hang out much. But today I'm having special guest from the UK, STARwave, with Retrosynth Records. They're fairly new. They're new as of this year. Started with the original member and then slowly worked up to 3. So let me play you their most recent single, Warrior, and then I will bring them on. And that was Warrior by STARwave, RetroSynth's latest artist. And I have with me tonight the three gentlemen who comprise STARwave, Dan, Mark, and Luke. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Evening. Hi.
So let's just go around. I've never had this many people on the show before. So let's start with Dan.
Yo.
And let's see. And so you're synths, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And Luke, guitar.
Yep. Guitar.
And Mark, you're the most recent member. You're on vocals, right?
I am. I'm the new kid on the block.
Now, do you all take part in the production?
Yeah, I mean, it all started really. Both myself and Luke, we've got completely different musical backgrounds. I'm a little bit more sort of, let's say, melodic. Luke's got more of a metal background to him. Rock covers and things like that before he got into the synthwave stuff. And I literally just came across the whole genre about 2 years ago. I was just scrolling through SoundCloud and then I came across a couple of tracks by the Midnight and really liked it. And I was quite confused at first. I wasn't sure whether it was actually 80s music that I completely forgot about or hadn't even come across in the whole 35 years of being on this planet. And then I realised there was this whole genre that actually are just one big 80s celebration, really. And yeah, I just love the sound, and ever since I discovered it, I've been obsessed with it, and I wanted to make my own creations. Luke shortly came on board, and he became quite interested in it, and we started jamming around one evening in the studio, and we started coming out with a few nice little sort of 80s style sounds.
Yeah, I mean, where it all really started was where Dan did a solo album, and I featured on one of those tracks, Present Horizon, I think it was, wasn't it?
That's the one.
And,
yep.
That was kind of like a synthwave, shredwave kind of thing. And then we kind of like sat down together and started writing some other tunes and thought, you know, we've actually got a pretty decent sound here together. And it just went from there, really, didn't it? And then obviously Mark came on board. Obviously, Mark lives in Wales, so he's like on the other side of the UK to us. With the whole production thing, we're not all together 100% of the time. So when Mark was with us, it was kind of like, let's just knuckle down and get the vocals recorded, and then we'll do the rest of the production sort of in our own time. Because obviously, like myself and Dan, we only live around the corner from each other. So we're kind of more focused on the production side of things than really like the writing and that kind of thing. So that's really how it all kind of started.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, I mean, I won't say too much. I'm sure Mark wants to elaborate a few points as well. But it was quite interesting how Warrior became a thing, really, because actually in the beginning it was actually designed to be an instrumental track that myself and Luke had written in the studio. And where we've put the vocals, there was obviously guitar bits, but we had to strip it right back to allow room for the vocals. And it was just a case. It was actually Luke's idea, because we had just laid a couple of tracks down with Mark on his first visit. And he came round the second time, and Luke came up with a really good idea. He said, we've got a couple of tracks that we could potentially use as templates for some vocal tracks. And Luke put across the idea of using Warrior, which wasn't actually called Warrior.
That was called Neon Hearts, wasn't it, in the beginning? But I only really had that idea because that morning when I was due to go around Dan's to record with him, it just came on shuffle while I was in the shower, and I thought, you know what, we could use this. And lo and behold, you've got Warrior.
The rest is history. Yeah, no, it was a very good idea.
Yeah, let's stop pretending there was some grand plan. It just kind of happened.
It did just happen, didn't it?
I think we left Mark alone with it in the other room for about 10 minutes. Me and Luke carried on just having a little bit of mess about, and he came back through and he said, I think we've got ourselves a chorus here, guys. And yeah, it went from there, really. We were really excited the way that it was starting to emerge, this track. And Luke and I both looked at each other as Mark was laying some vocals down, and we both, with raised eyebrows, sort of thought, this is going to be damn good, you know, so...
This is the one.
It was pretty much like that, wasn't it?
And then I laid my vocals down and they said, oh, actually, it's second thoughts. We prefer the instrumental.
But no, I mean, in addition to that as well, I would say that Warrior aside, every track that we've laid down, I'm not just saying that because we've done it. It's the fact that I would say that every single track on the upcoming album is hugely strong, and I don't think there's a weak link in it. And I'm quite fastidious with things like that, and so is Luke, and certainly Mark with his musical background. We feel that we've covered all aspects of synthwave. an 80s revival style music. You know, I think we've pretty much hit every emotion going in there as well.
There's a very mixed bag there of tracks. You know, you've got like the more synth rock kind of thing with like Warrior, and there's a couple of others on there. I don't want to give away too much, obviously, until the rest of the album's out. But you've got obviously those hard hitting tracks, and you've got some more up tempo ones. You've got some ballady ones. Just everything that, you know, it just touches every emotion, and it's like as you listen to the album as it progresses, it takes you on some sort of, you know, like journey. But yeah, it's a really good mixed bag of tunes on there. And as Dan said, we've sort of touched on sort of every little sort of genre or subgenre, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, synthwave being such a huge umbrella as well. We were actually quite worried. Actually, I will be honest here. We were very worried about releasing Warrior as our debut, only because, you know, our definition at the time of synthwave was very, very melodic, dreamy. But actually, when you really look at the umbrella of synthwave, it covers so many different types and so many mixed influences there. So in the end, we actually convinced ourselves it wasn't a bad idea releasing Warrior, even though it's more of a rocky tune, which we kind of realised. But
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's different, and there is a lot of what they call dreamwave stuff out there. You know, we kind of thought it was a good idea to release something which had a significant sound, you know, or a different sound to what is already out there at the moment.
I think I said it on the last interview that we did, where we've kind of got that sound where it's relatable, but it's different just enough to set you away from the rest of the pack, if you know what I mean. So it gives you that sort of divide.
Yeah, it's got that point of difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But it's not too far away from where, you know, the genre that we're aiming at. So it goes for the same with the rest of the album as well. I think we've been quite clever in that sort of way.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, it's doing something that our main worry is what Dan said was what we didn't want to do as newcomers to the scene. I mean, I'm the newcomer, but I know the guys are not to that genre, but I mean, as a threesome collective, we're newcomers, and what we didn't want to do was stray too far from the genre, because you don't want to alienate your audience, but with the same token, you want to give them something that's fresh on the ear. If nothing else, Warrior wakes you up.
That's one way of putting it.
Warrior is the synthwave equivalent of a kick in the guts, isn't it? Yeah, it really is.
Would have to agree with that.
I love that music video. Can we talk about that?
Sure, yeah.
We had like a narrative to go with it, and obviously Mark wrote the lyrics, so I'll let him explain what we were trying to aim with the narrative. But unfortunately, because we filmed all of that in, what was it, the space of, was it 6 or 7 hours or something like that?
Yeah, literally.
It was...
Wow.
Yeah, so we were really up against the clock with it. We didn't get as much narrative in there as we wanted, so we kind of just thought, you know, we'll bin it off, because there's not enough material in there to get a consistent narrative throughout the whole of the video.
Yeah, it's a song, just a song of empowerment, essentially. It's you know, all the souls out there that have been shortchanged by life in some way, you know, and for everyone who's ever been disenfranchised in some way. I think it's basically saying that, you know, even the weak and insipid can rise up and become strong and powerful, you know, and that strength has to come from inside of you. It's something innate. It's not something happens on the outside. It has to start within you. And I think everyone will read their own life stories into the lyrics in some way, and that's the whole idea. But yeah, it's a song of empowerment and strength and inner strength.
Yeah. But we couldn't really get that across in like the amount of narrative that we had filmed. So we were just like, right, we'll just do the performance video, the live video. And the guy that did it for us, Josh, he's a local lad that is from up here in Norwich, where myself and Dan live, and he was recommended to us. And he hadn't really, believe it or not, really done many music videos before, so it was kind of like a challenge for him as well. But it turned out great, I think. You know, he's captured everything there, the lighting and everything like that.
The energy is right, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he was actually very dubious about taking the project on, wasn't he? Because I don't think he'd ever directed such a hard-hitting, or shall I say, action-packed music video. I mean, we saw his show reel, and he obviously fitted the bag really well, actually, thinking about it. But we didn't have a lot of time to play with, and he certainly didn't, because he kind of got put into it quite late on, didn't he? So I think he done an amazing job, actually. I can't stress that enough. I think he's done fantastically.
Yeah,
I love it.
And he said that he made you feel comfortable. To be honest with you, the really nice thing about it was that it wasn't contrived, because we didn't actually even get time to rehearse together. So
No, that's
even the
very
two
true,
guys
actually.
on bass and drums, we turned up. We hadn't even said hello to each other. The camera started rolling, and so what you see on that live video is an actual unrehearsed live performance. That is what you see on the video is exactly how it came out. That was it.
Yeah.
There was no real staging. It was just like a live performance of, 5 people smashed together in a room. Right, let's do it. Yeah, start the music. Let's go. And that was it. It was very organic and very spontaneous. It was.
Well, hopefully that comes across to the audience. That's what we're hoping, anyway.
It's fresh, isn't it? It's exciting and it's fresh and dynamic. Yeah, it's real, isn't it? It's not fake. It's not contrived. It's what you see.
No, not at all.
Was a sincere, authentic performance.
I think a lot of that goes along with the fact that, as we've said before, between the three of us, it was almost like an instant friendship when us three got together musically. We were all a little bit concerned at the time, because we all come from different music backgrounds, and Mark certainly was quite worried, because he travelled all the way from Wales to Norfolk, which is a good 6-7 hour coach trip, probably longer than that actually. And he was like, I don't know how we're all going to get on, but let's wing it. Let's see what happens. And from the get-go, we all just got on fantastically, not just as friends, but we discovered that we had a great musical connection as well. And I think that has played a big part in not only the album, but the performance, the video, and everything like that. I think that's probably what has made things so gellable.
Well, it wasn't even going to be an album originally, was it? It was like Mark came.
No.
We did 2 songs with him, and then he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to come back, and then we're going to do some more songs, and we'll do like maybe a 5 or 6 track EP."
Yeah.
And then he came back a third time, and for what was originally going to be like a 5-track EP, is now turned into a full length 10-track album. it just goes to show that how quickly that we did, get along, and how quickly that we worked, and we're all sat there in the room 5 or 6 days straight. I think we spent in writing and recording.
Well, we pretty much burnt the candle at both ends, didn't we? On several nights. I mean, we didn't waste a moment on the album. On the the production side of stuff, we didn't waste any time, because not only were we pushed for time, because Mark was only up for a limited amount of days anyway, so we had to work relatively quick, but we didn't want to compromise quality with regard to the time aspect, because myself, Luke, and Mark, we're all quite diva-ish in that respect. We wouldn't want to put something out there that we felt was
not.
yeah. Who are we trying to kid?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Am I in the right interview here? I think it's like you said. It's one of those things where, because Luke and Dan live quite close together in Norfolk, up in England, and I live down in Wales, we have to make the time count, because the journey is a long way to go. So on every single trip, the clock is ticking from the moment I arrive. We literally start writing and recording from the moment I arrive up until sometimes an hour before I got to go. We maximise the time as much as we can we set ourselves like mini goals. So we say, right, on this trip we're going to try and get 3 done, or on this trip we're going to try and get these 2 done. We set the goals, and I think we're pretty vigilant. I think we've hit those goals down pretty well, I think, actually.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like as Mark said, that there was a few days where we completely maxed ourselves out, where we would probably come into the studio for about 11 o'clock in the morning, and we wouldn't venture out of the studio until 2 o'clock in the morning, by which time all 3 of us were completely baked, completely burnt out, and just ready for the sack. And then we'd get going again the following day on pretty much very little sleep. I mean, Mark is up all hours of the morning, being a nocturnal so-and-so that he is.
I know it's not my fault I'm a vampire.
It's quite funny, actually, because he came running through to our bedroom one morning, because Mark was sleeping downstairs, and he came up from downstairs and bolted into my bedroom.
Just to stop you there, when he says our bedroom, not mine and Dan's bedroom. Dan and his wife's bedroom. Yeah. Just to clarify.
And he came running through to the bedroom. He said, Dan, quickly turn your keyboard on. I've just got to lay down some chords. I've got an idea. And this was actually the beginning, or should I say, the birth of another track that's actually, funny enough, incidentally, on the album as well. I think it's Bolt from the Blue, actually. Certainly lyrically, he came through and he said, no, I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning, just jotting down some lyrics, and the birth of another great track. But we're most impressed with that one on the album, as it's one of the ballads on there. You're quite impressed with that one, Mark.
Oh, Bolt is a beautiful song.
Bolt from the Blue, and Where We're Meant to Be as well. That's a really great track.
Oh wow, that's at the moment, I think, possibly one of my favourites at the moment. I go through phases.
I do love the production on that one, to be fair. I mean, that's I think we've done a mega job on that in terms of like probably my favourite out of the ballads as well. Same as you, Mark.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think it could be. It's strong enough to be a single, that one.
The crazy thing is, the production on that track happened inside of a day, because we knew we were pressed for time. I mean, me and Luke actually hadn't touched that track up until that point, and we knew that we had got to get a move on. And we pretty much had the entire track, well, the production of it, the outline of it, hadn't we, Luke? Inside of one day.
We absolutely blitzed that, and there's so much going on that song as well. So it's just one of them ones where I think if you're in the right place, in the right frame of mind, must be 45, 50 odd individual things going on in that track at any one time.
Yeah, there's a lot of instrumentation going on. In fact, they all have. I don't think any of our projects have been
vocals.
Yeah.
Mark, you're not wrong there.
Mark enjoys a harmony or two. So he's like, do you just want to open up another vocal channel, and I'll just do another harmony, and then I'll do a sub-harmony, and then I'll do the glue note, and then we'll do another two mid-range harmonies or whatever, and before you know it, you've maxed out your CPU and you can't record anything else. It's
we had several CPU crashes.
It's just the way we are, isn't it?
Yeah, #standard. My mum, she said, who's the woman singing on that track? I said, yeah, that'll be me, Mum.
Collaborating remotely doesn't really work for you guys?
I think it's because of like obviously we've all of us have got our studios, so we probably could. Dan and I are so used to working side by side and doing things the way that we've been doing them for, I don't know, how like the best part of 2 years now, I would say, and that's like on our own stuff and on the STARwave stuff. So with us both being there in the room, obviously, like I say, when Mark would come over, do his bit, and then he would go home, and then it would be up to Dan and myself to do the rest of the production. So I think it's just more effective when you've got, more than just one pair of ears sat there doing the production, and it's slightly quicker as well, because obviously I could do my guitar parts at my place, and then I could take them over to Dan's, and then it's just a lot quicker. And maybe we might work remotely in the future. I don't know. We'd have to see how it goes, but I'm certainly more of.
Well, for now, it's just so convenient being only round the corner from each other. I mean, in time, if one of us decides to move a few miles up the road or whatever, then it might be more convenient to obviously pursue the remote option. But at the moment, as Luke said, I myself prefer working in the studio alongside somebody rather than emailing stems and things and bits and pieces. It starts to. I mean, we did have to on one. This is just the one occasion we had to revisit a track vocally where Mark did a few bits and pieces remotely. He sent them back. So we had no choice but to do it remotely that time round, just due to the fact we've had lockdown and things like that to consider.
Yeah.
But
my brother's got a little studio down here in Wales, so I can just shoot across to his studio, which is only a few streets away. I can do whatever needs to be done.
Yeah, so I mean, we've got the options there if we need it.
I think it's more constructive if you're all there, sat in the studio together, and you're bouncing off each other's vibes and energy. And
that's what I was going to say. We don't catalyze ideas. You catalyze ideas quicker together, and also, really speaking, you need to be together for the writing aspect of it, because you need to be together to write the songs. I could come away just having sat there and written all the stuff with you, and then recorded everything down here in Wales, and then just sent the files over. But when you're there, sometimes when you're halfway through a song, the song can take a twist and turn that you don't expect. Like we might say, I tell you what, let's change that chord there, and it changes the entire emphasis of the song. Just changing one components of it, and I think you can only do that when you're physically together in the same room.
Well, we did that several times on several tracks, didn't we? We sat there and listening back to bits and pieces, and the way that the tracks have evolved, they are very evolving tracks anyway. But if you went back and listened to a track in its very early stages and then listened to it as it is now, be like, wow. But you'd never be able to have achieved that if we were all working remotely, I don't think.
No, it'd have been hard work, and it would have been a lot slower. It would have taken a lot longer to do it.
Yeah. I mean, like as you said, the beauty of being together in the studio environment is, you're all together to throw your ideas into the pot. The banter as well. I mean, we do have ridiculous banter when we're all together. There is some very serious moments as well. There's been some very stressful moments, but ultimately we. Absolutely, we get on like a house on fire, us three. Really, I mean, there's a lot of love there. I think.
Well, you can't do anything. I don't think it's truthful or authentically sincere to hope that you can have creative forces in a room and not have some points of difference at some point, either within songs or within the writing and recording process, because to me that's just not realistic, because creative types are historically eccentric people anyway. We're completely over the top, and we're very, very emotionally driven. We're very spiritual and emotionally driven. So when you have three people with three different ideologies, for example, of how something could or should sound, and you're trying to find that middle ground, that compromise in the middle, inevitably there's going to be moments and times where that's not going to work. That's just the reality of life. That's the same in relationships. It's the same in bands. It's the same in in the corporate world. It's no different. You're trying to make it work, but ultimately, at the end of the day, when all is said and done, when you listen back to the end product, you forget all those things and you think, yeah, it was worth it, and it was worth going through that, whatever it took for us to get to that end point when you hear the finished product, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. It's all about the song.
I mean, Mark, out of all three of us, has been in the music scene a lot longer than both myself and Luke. And there's been a lot of moments where we've probably had to take on board a lot of what Mark has said, because he's got probably just a little bit more experience, behind certain aspects of it.
Not much, just a little bit.
That's not what I heard.
only an hour more, just an hour more experience, just 1 hour. That's all. I know nothing about synthwave, so the beauty is I rely on you and Luke for all things synthwave, because synthwave to me, it was like learning a new language. I know nothing about it.
We don't know it all. I think a lot of it is the fact that we've probably just. I mean, like I said, I discovered it about 2 years ago, so I've had a good 2 years of understanding more and more about the genre itself and the aesthetics and things and that, behind it as well, which is another massive important aspect, is the artwork that goes along with some of these albums out there. I mean, some of it's absolutely incredible, so that's another very, very big part of synthwave. It's all about the artwork and, the aesthetic.
I love our album artwork, mind you.
Yeah, I do. I'm really pleased with it. The biggest hurdle for me was a lot of these tracks. There was so bare minimum to work with there. We had the vocals laid down, we had a bass line laid down, and a few chords laid down, and some of it was just we had to rearrange some of these tracks in a way that they became very evolving. That was a hurdle. There was a lot of changing around, wasn't there, Luke?
Oh, we had to get a little bit clever with it, but it was one where I don't know. It's like you've got a blank canvas and. Obviously, when Mark's here and we're making the most of the time that Mark is here, and he's doing his vocals, and then once he's gone, obviously we could have worked a little bit more remotely, I suppose, if we wanted to change up of the vocals and that sort of thing. But it was kind of like a case of when Mark had come and gone, and then it would be between Dan and myself to kind of work around what Mark has given us, because it's like once he's gone, and we've got what we're given to work with, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of like there's no going back on it.
Princess left her glass slipper behind.
We had to build the tracks around Mark's vocal, which was a little bit of a challenge on some songs, because everyone's got their different ways of working. I would personally write the music before I would then go in and do the vocal, but we did it the opposite way around, where we've done all the vocal and then we put the music to the vocal.
Yeah, I mean, that strategy does work if you've got, say, limited time. So the main focus when Mark is here is to get the vocals there. We will play around with some chord progressions and we'll get some vague chords laid down. We'll get a bass line and some percussion. And then Mark will lay down his verses, his bridges, his choruses and harmonies. And then when he goes home, both Luke and myself, we will then build the tracks around those elements that we'd put in, you see. So I mean, if we had more time, if Mark was living around the corner as well, and we had, full days together, we could possibly, work on the arrangement first and then focus on the vocal work, which is probably the way that myself and Luke are used to working.
Yeah.
In a situation. But, when you're pressed for time, I think, if your vocalist lives 9 hours across the other side of the country, then that probably is the only way to be doing the production. But
I think it's another structural change for you guys as well, because historically, before I came along, essentially most of the stuff you were doing, with the exception of one or two, where you took the vocals down, was instrumental tracks. So all of a sudden, I guess as a unit, you've gone from doing instrumental tracks into creating what are now quite savvy commercial pop songs. So they're songs rather than instrumental tracks, and I think that's where the juxtaposition of the music is folded around the vocals, whereas you haven't had to factor vocals into that previously.
Yeah,
so
there has been a lot of adapting, I must say, for both myself and Luke.
It's been a massive learning curve, though, for all of us, I think, because obviously, going back to what we said earlier, was that the three of us are from completely different musical backgrounds. Myself, I'm lead guitarist in a hard rock band that couldn't really be any further away from synthwave, some of the stuff that we do. So as much as I love the genre and that sort of thing, it's made me a better musician, it's made me a better guitarist, it's made me a better songwriter. I appreciate the way that how the music's written and has got a better understanding of it all. But I've known Dan a long time, but I've learned stuff from him within the last 6 months as well, and obviously learned an incredible amount from Mark as well. So
and in return, you taught me how to pole dance, Luke. So
Well,
it's a great song.
well, that's a completely different interview, but yeah,
Wait, is that going to be in a future music video?
it might well be. Yeah, maybe.
Oh, do you know what? I wouldn't put anything past us three at the moment because the ideas that go through our heads when we're
You
together.
can't bring it up and not show
Yeah,
it.
Karen's got a point, actually. Yeah, Karen's got a point. I'll let Luke demonstrate how the poll works.
Thank you.
That's not
Yeah.
what I said.
Oh.
Thought it was a group effort.
Dear. Who knows what's going to become of the three of us? I don't know.
Who knows?
So I've talked to some singer-songwriters that are soloists, and it's interesting your process of things because for the most part they start with the melody and lyrics, and then they build their song around that. And it sounds like you feel like you're doing it backwards, or you feel like that would be.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I totally understand.
Like the whole writing process was literally. I think the best way to put it would be that like Dan and I would come up with like some sort of chord progression, or Mark would be involved with that part of it as well. When Dan and I would be doing that in one room, Mark would go off and do his vocal part, and then come back in like half an hour and have the whole song done. And then we'd lay down the vocals over a beat, like a basic bass line, and just like a pad. And then we'd move on to the next song, and then that one would sort of be left where it was, and then we'd build upon that at a later date once we've finished the other tracks, because obviously we've got only X amount of time to spend with Mark. So it was a case of just really getting the vocals done first, wasn't it, and then building around it.
Yeah. I mean, that was the only reason why we decided to work that particular way round. We had no really other choice, to be honest.
But it's because we were so limited with time. That's why we did it that way.
We were limited,
you know.
And there was a few days out of, Mark's stay that we wanted to, commit purely to leisure as well, because I thought, if we're going to be spending, just over a week with each other, we need to have a couple of leisurely days where we get a little bit drunk and, mess around a little bit. And absolutely, well, there was. Well, I think every night we had a drink. I think actually some of these songs were even written under the influence of a few beers. So
most of mine are. all the best songs are.
Yeah, to be fair.
I'm sure. I think that's probably how some of the best music in the world is created. Not just with alcohol, but obviously other
Drugs.
unanimous substances as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have the Beatles otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
No, exactly.
We wouldn't have a lot of it. I don't know how people used to do that. I can barely play after a few beers, let alone what they would be up to. I don't.
No, well, the problem being is you sound great, but I don't think everyone else would agree.
Depends how much
I think I sound fantastic when I'm drunk. If I'm doing a live performance and I'm completely out of my head, I think I'm doing fantastically. But you just hope and pray that everyone else is completely drunk as well, so they don't hear.
I always remember going to a karaoke night, always, and I was so. And I hardly ever drink. So when I do drink, it hits me hard, as the guys will tell you. I got so drunk this one night, and I decided it was a great idea to jump up, snatch the microphone off the DJ, and just start singing Snow Patrol Chasing Cars. So I didn't know the lyrics. There was no karaoke screen working. So I just started howling like a rabid dog over this microphone because I couldn't even see. I was just stumbling all over the place. And I was so proud of myself. I felt so amazed, and I thought everyone thought I was fantastic. I went and sat down, and my mate said, "You know what, that was really good." Aside from the fact that he said you were singing three keys lower than the music and about 2 bars behind it. He said, but other than that, it was fab. But, yeah, great. I didn't care at the time of my life.
So that begs the question: is there a future of live performances in STARwave's future?
Well, that depends if the weekend gives us a call and asks them to support, ask us to support that.
I know this isn't really the season to be asking because all the live performances, I mean, they should put a kibosh on everything. And I think it's getting worse now, at least over in the US. We're locking down harder than ever this time.
You're thinking of booking us over there then, Karen, are you?
I would like to think about it. I mean, I'm with the Retro Synth team too. I was trying to get Neutron Dreams onto something in Pennsylvania or Newark or New York City. And then everything just sort of fell apart. And they had one show to get more. Because, over here in Seattle, it's a lot further to travel. But goodness, I'd come to the East Coast to see you guys. I'd travel. That would be a hell of a show.
Yeah.
We'd love
Yeah,
to. We said from the beginning, if there was ever going to be talk of, live performances, we would absolutely hell yeah.
Oh yeah, no question about it.
hell to the yeah.
It's been so long though, because like you say, we're like England are now in lockdown until the 2nd of December, and that's probably going to be extended. Wales, are they out of lockdown now, Mark? I don't know what's going on over your neck of the
finally,
woods.
yeah. So we had about 35 weeks of lockdown. Then we had 4 weeks where they released us for good behaviour, and that's when I came up to Norfolk to actually finish the album. And then I came back, and then 2 days after I come back, we locked down again for 4 weeks, and then we extended that to level 3 lockdown for 2 weeks. And we've been out of lockdown now. This is my 2nd week out of lockdown.
Yeah.
So, but we're still not allowed to go to each other's homes. We still can't go to anyone's houses.
that's the problem at the moment for that Dan and I are facing. Is that, like, the album's so close to being finished is frustrating because I'm literally a stone's. I could literally throw a stone from my house, and Dan could probably catch it in his back garden. We're that close to each other, but so I could,
Yep.
But I can't.
True story.
Yeah, but we can't really do anything because, like I said earlier, we do work better together when we're sat there together in the room. So
yeah, I mean, as Luke said, we are so close, and when I say close, it's almost just a case of both of our ears listening back to the mixes, making adjustments. We feel we've got a wrap there, but it does need the pair of us to be sat in the room to be hearing back these mixes, because it's at that integral point now where it literally is all coming together to a close. The tracks will then need to be mastered, and that can sometimes be a relatively time-consuming process depending on what the people's turnaround is. What was going to be an album launch on the 20th, unfortunately, will have to be set back to another date now, and we're probably looking at December sometime. We still haven't got an exact date on that, but
that'll be announced very soon.
Yeah,
sure. Once we got a better idea of what's going on with this whole COVID situation. But as far as live goes, we're not really, we'd like to think that at some point in the future we'd all be able to get together, get some rehearsals going, and get these tracks done in a live environment. But we're so far off even thinking about that at the moment. I don't know, because of the whole COVID thing, and no one is gigging on any level at the moment. So it's kind of a lost cause just even thinking about it at present. So
yeah, and it's just frustrating as well. It is very frustrating.
We do have the live stream concerts, the option.
Yeah,
I mean, it takes some setting up and some trial and error.
Yeah, it does, and they're not the same. I mean, all three of us are used to a live audience. I mean, I have done. Luke and myself have set up some gear, and we've done some online little bits and pieces. When in the first lockdown we decided to do it, it's just not the same. I mean, as I said, we're all three of us are used to performing in front of live audiences, and quite large ones on occasions. So for us to limit, for us to be in a room and we're just playing to a screen or whatever, it's just completely strange. It's
like
alien.
A rehearsal.
Yeah, it's really alien, and you need an audience to bounce off of anyway. In my opinion,
I did get a buzz off of the whole live stream thing that I did in the first lockdown, but like you say, it's just not the same. You stood there in a room playing guitar to a camera.
Yeah.
You're not getting any rebounding feedback, are you? You're not getting any instant feedback from a crowd. You're not you're not getting that warmth and that electricity. You're not getting that kind of you feed off the audience and they feed off you, and you're not getting that reciprocal interaction between the audience, and that can make it feel a little bit soul destroying, a little bit thankless. But I do sometimes go on social media and do my ramble chats. I enjoy those. I don't mind looking at the camera and rambling on for about an hour and a half about what movies I've been watching, what I'm eating in my cereal bowl, or the colour of my bedroom wall.
Social media at the moment is like it's great, but it's also it can be a bad thing as well because of the whole the whole COVID thing with all the media and everything that's going on around it. But at the same time, there's so many people that are live streaming, and I've found quite a few new artists through all these like stuff that people have been streaming. Probably would never have even heard of them before if it wasn't for COVID.
Yeah, a
lot of places are like Facebook, for example. They're clamping down on the streams and what you can and what you can't stream and that sort of thing. And so, for the artists that actually do rely on live shows, like Dan, for example, is his living. For even that to then be taken away from them, as well as not even be able to do it in an actual live situation is, I don't know, it's a bit deflating, really. That you can't even perform online in a virtual environment. What else can you do if that is your living?
Yeah, it's been incredibly frustrating, to be honest. I mean, for what started out with me, a few years back, just a few gigs here and there as a bit of a hobby thing, really, slowly progressed into my full-time job, which I've built up a relatively good reputation on the local circuit. When it becomes your passion and your living, and to lose both of those elements just overnight, it's probably one of the most deflating feeling I've ever had. And I'm sure the boys would agree that both being involved in live shows and things, and something you're looking forward to in the weeks, it's a horrible feeling of deflation. The times that, we spend rehearsing as well, we're not even doing that at the moment, really, because we've got no need to, obviously. But I mean, we're in the studio, obviously. I mean, I'm still recording, so my vocals are still in action, as it were, but just not in a live situation, sadly. But we're hoping it's going to come to an end soon. We really are. I mean, I'm sure everyone is.
Well, we've got the hope of the vaccine and everything.
I think the vaccine's around the corner. The vaccine's around the corner. Once the vaccine gets into the general population, I think that's the only thing that's going to get us back to normal. So, but they have got a vaccine. It's got 90% plus efficacy. So everyone is just waiting for the vaccine.
And some live STARwave.
Yeah,
that would be nice. Yeah, judging from the music video, I didn't know at first how many of the 5 were part of the permanent band, and Neutron Dreams told me that it was the 3 of you, and it looked so right. And I'm thinking that would make a great show. I mean, I know it's not the time for it right now, and if you're not up for a live stream, it's kind of the same filming a music video.
On the number of the members and that sort of thing, obviously we are a trio, but obviously if it were to come to a live situation, then we'd reconsider that. But a lot of people, like the bass player, is actually from my band, Come in Silence, and so he stepped in, and then the drummer Reeve is another guy that I know who I've worked with in the past. I just said to the guys, do you fancy just filling in for the video to exactly try and make it look a little bit more like a live performance sort of thing. So I mean, I don't know how the other 2 feel, but like obviously I would love to be able to employ that sort of outfit for a live show. I think that it would be great. Because you've got that whole sort of...
that's the energy, doesn't it?
The energy, and that's the other thing in synthwave as well, is that you don't really have many full bands. You don't have like a 5-piece band going out and playing shows.
They're normally duos at most, aren't they?
Duos or solo artists, or you've got like Ollie Ride, who's got his guitarist. I forget his name now. I think it's Chris.
Oh, Josh Daly. James Cross is his drummer, and he brings them on tour, but they're not part of the band. Oh, that's pretty common. Like the Midnight will do that too.
Yeah,
like it's just the 2 of them, but they have a bassist, they have a saxophonist and drummer and all that.
Oh, I need 5 people just to carry all my clothes and my shoes, personally.
Road crew.
The Midnight stream that they did recently was, I think they had like 5 or 6 people, guitarist, drummer, there was a sax player there as well. But I watched a bit of that stream and they looked like a full outfit. And they sounded great as well. So whether the genre will go in that kind of direction, I don't really know. I'd be interested to see how that pans out.
I feel like I'm seeing it more and more.
Yeah.
I like the Midnight. I like this band.
There's some really great acts out there, I will say. I mean, only being into this whole thing literally 2 years or so, I've come across some great artists within the genre. I really have, the Midnight, FM84, Ollie Ride, Josh Daly. There is some fantastic names out there, and they're doing some fantastic music. They really are. Entering into this genre for the 3 of us with probably very little knowledge compared to some of these other artists was quite daunting, So, because we are up against some great names and some great music out there, and you can only do the best that you can do at the time. As I say, I feel that we've got a strong product here, not just with the single Warrior, but the album itself. I personally feel, I think the boys would agree, that we've got a really good, strong product here, and we're looking forward for everyone, to hear it in due time. So
yeah, I can't wait for that. I love the first single. I'm
proud of it. When you think it's our entry level kind of offering into this genre, really proud of it. I had it on repeat last night in bed in my headphones to see the flow of it, and I'm really proud of it.
I want to thank you all for being on the show. I'm so glad to be the first to interview you guys, and we got the premiere single out. Love the music video. And we'll just stay tuned for news of the album. You're not the only people being delayed by this mess this year. So we'll wait. We'll be patient. It'll be worth it.
Absolutely. All good things come to those who wait. So I've always been told.
Thanks so much, you guys.
No, thank you, Karen. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having us on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Of course. All right, everybody. Have a good night.
And you, Karen. Thank you very much.